Hey there, welcome back to League Talk with Nom. Today we'll be talking about skill caps, both skill of the player and the champions they play. For player skill caps, obviously the first thing you can look at is what their rank is. This doesn't tell you the whole picture, of course, but it's a good starter of the amount of time they put into the game and a little bit of how good they are. The ranking system is weird as a whole, but it's a good place to start. Of course, you can always better yourself in how you play by playing different champs and different roles, which are both very important to broaden your knowledge base. The more champs you play in a specific role lets you understand the matchups between those champions more and better than just playing against them, and different roles to understand how everybody interacts. Obviously, if you play only mid lane, then you don't have as much of an understanding as the top lane on their island or even jungle to roam around when you're asking for ganks. So moving around, even if you don't want to play them a lot or are never planning on playing them in ranked or competitively, it's still good to get at least a base knowledge of everywhere, and that's one really good way to better yourself as a player. And one of the best things to do, in lane especially, is to understand the person you're playing against. Of course, you can know all the numbers of every matchup in your specific lane, but the best thing to do is to try to understand the person you're laning against. See if they're good in lane, and if they're not good in lane, maybe they'll be good in team fights. You always have to keep that in the back of your mind, especially if you take their rank into example. Just the other day, I was laning against a bronze Azir, so I was assuming he was going to be really bad, but he actually had a pretty good lane phase, and I was like, well, he's either bronze because he doesn't care about ranked, or he's bronze because he's really bad at team fighting. So it was kind of an even trade in lane. I don't play against many Azirs. He plays a lot of mid lane, I looked up. So it was going all right. But then when it came to team fights, I was right. He didn't have good positioning. He walled poorly. And I had that in the back of my mind going into the fight. So either we could have focused him down and got him out of the fight just in case he did that really well, or we could not worry about him and go for the ADC and the hard carries besides him, and then worry about him last because we knew he was fairly ineffective. I had relayed that information onto the team, and that's the approach we took, and it ended up working out for us really well. So there's one thing, of course, always understand the champ you're playing and playing against, but try to also read the person you're playing against. There's a bunch of tools using LoL Nexus and op.gg just to see their match history and if they're on a winning streak or a losing streak, and just trying to gauge the person you're playing against, I find always helps. You don't have to look up everybody, but your laner, or if you're the jungler, at lane you might want to gank just as an overall look, is always great. Now, champ-wise, there of course are really easy champs to play with no or very little skill shots, and then incredibly difficult champs to play with either two-stage skill shots or everything's a skill shot and you have to time it all correctly. They both have their advantages. And of course, you'll always hear people cry foul when you play very easy champs. I hear this the most with Master Yi, just because you can do a lot of good work on him, regardless if you do well early game, just by pressing 2 buttons. And that can be very frustrating for some people, myself included. When you're either wrecking him in lane or he's just in jungle and he doesn't get any good ganks early, but then 30 minutes comes around and he just alpha strikes your whole team and gets a pentakill, and it's like, you've got to be kidding me. But that's just how that champ works, and you have to keep that in mind when you're playing against champs like that. That happens a lot with Annie's too. I think she's always very strong. She's not as strong as she used to be, thankfully, but she can just poke for days and then burst you down all at once. So it's like the kind of the best of both worlds for someone who might not play a lot of mid like myself. I pick her up just because I can play her support, so I have a little bit of background knowledge on her already. But then when I take her mid, I can CS easily with her Q and then blow people up with just a full rotation of her spells. So easy champs are good alongside high skill cap champs like, say, Victor. I can't play Victor, but I have friends who love Victor and are fantastic with him, but it is an incredibly difficult champ to play due to his laser having basically 2 lines you have to line up, and some abilities taking a very long time to rev up to get the most out of them, like his stun. Now, of course, you learn more mechanics and learn more as you play from higher skill cap champs like Victor, but it's not always the best to play them in every situation. I know a bunch of people who rise up through ranks and are very high ranked by just playing the bare minimum 1 or 2 champs that are very easy to play. I have one friend who plays top only and plays Riven and Master Yi. And of course, those are 2 very easy champs, but he's really good with both of them and can solo carry games either by split pushing or winning team fights straight up, and then the whole team pushes. And that's worked out really well for him. But I also have other friends who play very high skill cap champs all over the place, and that works out really well for them too. It's just you have to find the playstyle you like. If you're looking exclusively to get through ranked and go up divisions as fast as possible, what I always say and what I've always heard is pick one role that you want to be really good at and play 1 or 2 champs really well in that role. Of course, you can have a bigger pool of people. That's always good, so you can know the matchups and whatnot. But to go up through ranked, if you're good with 1 or 2 people exclusively, you can go much farther than a person who is kind of good at a lot of champions, just because you know that person to a T. Now, it takes time to know people like that, of course, and if you're just a new player coming into it, it's also okay to just, as you're ranking up even like pre-30, to pick a champ or 2 and kind of get good with them. It doesn't really matter who it is, as long as they're fun to you, and or if they just look cool, that's good enough for most people. That's how I started. Of course, I'm not playing those champs anymore because I was bad with them, but once you kind of pick a play style and get good at that one position, and you can definitely use low skill cap champs to better improve your personal player skill and get better as a whole. That's all for me for today. As always, if you like the videos, hit the like button and subscribe to get more Salvo content. I'm Nonsensical, and I'm out.